Let's talk about the Beatles today. What I thought would be a really fun thing to do would be to go through almost their entire catalog and try to pick my favorite song off of every side of every album. So that means for most of them, it would be 2 songs. For the White Album, it'll be 4. Please Please Me. This is a Parlophone pressing that my mom bought for me, I think when I was 16 at Harrods in London. I have several of these. I think I got these for Christmas that year. One of the greatest presents I ever got was this collection of, Parlophone pressing Beatles records. This is not going to be easy to choose my favorites, and my opinion is fleeting for a lot of these favorites. I probably will have a different opinion tomorrow. I might have a different opinion, in 5 minutes. I really didn't do much preparation for this except to get everything ready in order. But this one I actually did know what it was going to be. Side one, obviously we've got I Saw Her Standing There. We've got Misery, Anna, Go to Him, the cover, the Arthur Alexander cover. We've got Chains, Boys, Ask Me Why, and of course, Please Please Me. I always loved Anna. I love their cover of Anna. And it has a lot to do with John's performance on it, especially in that, what do you call the middle 8? All of my life I've been searching for a girl. That vocal performance of his in that part of the song is absolutely jaw-droppingly amazing. Even today, after all this time. And this is their very first record, So I've always loved that song, and I've always wanted to cover that song too. So the second side is a little tougher for me. We've got Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You, Baby It's You. That's a good one. Do You Want to Know a Secret? I love that song. I love all these songs. Let me just make that clear right off the bat. Taste of Honey. I love that. There's a Place, of course, Twist and Shout. I'm going to have to go, man, that's hard. That was really hard. I'm going to have to go with There's a Place. But it is really, I'm kind of torn between that and their cover of A Taste of Honey, because I've always loved A Taste of Honey. One of my only complaints with their cover of A Taste of Honey is that it's too short. I've always thought it could be maybe twice as long, and they could put a guitar solo in the middle or something. But There's a Place is just, I love everything about it. The harmonica, I think that's one of my favorite uses of the harmonica on their early songs. Yeah, good stuff. This is where I have to switch to my collection of the monobox, because I don't own most of their early stuff on LP. Why? Because when I was collecting these things in my teenage years, by the time I really started getting interested in their early stuff, the CDs had started coming out. This was 1987. So I was no longer interested in buying LPs. We didn't call them LPs back then. Records. We called them records. We didn't call them vinyl. We didn't call them LPs. We called them records. I wasn't really interested in buying records anymore because they could get scratched really easily. And CDs were really novel at the time because supposedly they couldn't get scratched. Boy, we found it pretty quickly that wasn't true. But anyway, so yeah, that's when the CDs came out. And very wisely, Capitol decided to put out the actual UK versions of the records instead of the American versions. So I'll get more on that in a second. Please Please Me was given to me by my mom, but I was never really interested enough in the early stuff to buy anything else before that predated Rubber Soul. I just wasn't really interested in it. With the Beatles. Oh boy, this is going to be hard to read. This text is teeny weeny tiny. I do really love It Won't Be Long, but All I've Got to Do, the second song, whenever that, again, another fantastic John vocal on this one. That has always been my favorite. And that one, it very much seemed to me like he was trying to write his own version of You Really Got a Hold on Me. And that brings me to side 2. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to choose that for side 2. This is not their strongest record. There's some really great originals on here, but they hadn't really, these early years, they were so busy touring. I just don't think that they hadn't quite found their mojo yet with their songwriting, but still such great stuff. But it's their cover. Again, another John vocal. You Really Got a Hold on Me. Good Lord. It's just fantastic. I think that's going to be the one I choose. Those are going to be the 2 I choose off of this one. All I've Got to Do and You Really Got a Hold on Me from With the Beatles. Yes, sir. A Hard Day's Night. And what's funny is that for the longest time, I got these 2 out of order. For some reason, I thought that this came out first and then it was Hard Day's Night, but no, it's the other way around. So yeah, Hard Day's Night, fantastic record. Again, I didn't really learn to appreciate this one until I was maybe 18, 19 years old. So this is gonna be hard, especially because these damn things are so hard to read. So yeah, we've got side one, we've got Hard Day's Night, we've got Should Have Known Better, If I Fell, oh, I'm Happy Just to Dance with You, And I Love Her, Tell Me Why, and Can't Buy Me Love. Oh man, I think it's got to be If I Fell, and that strikes a deep chord with me because that is a song that I used to cover with my late friend Davey Bryan. We used to do an acoustic duo together, and we were very keen, both of us, very keen on the Beatles. And If I Fell was one that he wanted to cover, and so he insisted on it actually. And yeah, I really enjoyed doing that song with him. So yeah, If I Fell off of side one. Side two, boy, they did not design this for 55-year-old eyes. I was about to say senior. I'm not quite there yet. Won't be long though. No pun intended. Side two, we got Anytime at All. Oh, I'll Cry Instead. Things We Said Today. When I Get Home. You Can't Do That. I'll Be Back. Good Lord. How does anybody choose favorite out of these songs? Anytime at All. Fuck, that's a great song. I'll Cry Instead. Come on. God damn. This is almost like a form of torture trying to pick a favorite. Again, I'm going to have to go with the John vocal, man. Anytime at All. Come on. A lot of these early John vocals were just so spunky. I mean, what is the word I'm looking for? Just fucking tough and brutal in a way. Anytime at all. Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. So I think those are my choices today from this record. Yeah. Side one, If I Fell. Side two, Anytime at All. Hard Day's Night. Beatles for Sale. This is often referred to as like the tired Beatles album because you can tell they look really tired on the cover. They're like, God, Brian, give us a day off already. Jeez. This is where the rigors of touring and everything were really starting to wear on them. You can tell that they went from Hard Day's Night, which was a very originals heavy record, to this, where they're kind of going back to the same, 50-50 mixture of originals and covers that they had on the first two records. All right. We have a gatefold. And again, I need a little assistance here. So side one, we've got No Reply, I'm a Loser. Oh, yeah. Babies in Black, Rock and Roll Music, I'll Follow the Sun, Mr. Moonlight, and Kansas City. That's easy. Again, I'm a Loser. That's another song I used to cover with Davey. And I used to do that solo a lot when I play solo acoustic shows. I love that song. It's a good one. I love Babies in Black too, but I think I'm a Loser is the strongest song on this first side. Mr. Moonlight. There's a lot of weird choices on this record, and I really do think it's because they didn't have time. They were exhausted, and so they were just plucking things out of their old Hamburg repertoire. And there's a hilarious outtake of Mr. Moonlight on the anthology where John's voice cracks when he's trying to do that really insanely high note that starts the song. It's so great. Anyway, side two, 8 Days a Week. Great song, Words of Love, Buddy Holly cover. I love that. If you listen to Buddy Holly's original of that song, it's endearing how close the Beatles arrangement was to the Buddy Holly original. It's actually quite adorable. I love their version of it. Honey Don't, another cover. Not my favorite. Every Little Thing, yeah. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, yeah. What You're Doing, yeah. Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, yeah, it's cute, I love all this stuff. Even the weird songs, even the not so great song choices. I love it all. Come on. This is one where I'm really, again, man, it's these early John vocals that just grab me. I'm actually kind of, I was thinking about this earlier. I'm a little torn up. It's a toss up for me between Every Little Thing and What You're Doing. Every Little Thing being the John song, What You're Doing being more of a Paul song. Every little thing she does, she does for me, yeah. I think I'm going to have to go with that one. They're both kind of strange songs. The hooks in them are kind of weird. but in a good way, I think Every Little Thing, that's going to be the one. So yeah, Beatles For Sale. We're going to go with I'm a Loser and Every Little Thing. Wow. That was a tough one. That was a tough one. All right, finally, we're to Help. Another one I never owned on vinyl. We've got Help, of course. What's the first song on Help again? I forgot. The Night Before. Got to Hide Your Love Away. Oh, I used to cover that one. I Need You. Another Girl. You're gonna lose that girl. Ticket to Ride. Some of these, I have to admit, some of these are not my favorites of theirs. Side one, yeah, I don't. The Night Before, I don't. That's not one of their best, in my opinion. Another Girl, also not one of their best. You're gonna lose that girl. That is one of their best. I think I love that one. But I'm going to go with, and this is probably not much of a surprise, I'm going to go with You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. Yet again, another John vocal. This, of course, was where he was really, really flexing his Dylan influence at the time. And it's also a really fun song to play on acoustic guitar. That is, I am a little bit torn between that and You're Going to Lose That Girl. I do love that one as well. Then, of course, you got Ticket to Ride. But you know what? Ticket to Ride is, I don't know. I tend to veer away from the really popular ones because I've heard them so much. I'm almost always going to opt for the so-called deep cuts on these things. Anyway, side two, Act Naturally. It's Only Love. Beautiful song. You Like Me Too Much. Tell Me What You See. Strange song. I've Just Seen a Face. Fantastic. Yesterday, of course. And Dizzy Miss Lizzie. Dizzy Miss Lizzie. They throw this on here. It just seems like they were running. Obviously, they ran out of material again. Dizzy Miss Lizzie. Great vocal from John, but frankly, a rather boring song to put alongside all these other ones. Again, Help. It's not their strongest record. It's kind of like Beatles For Sale. It's like, got a couple of really great ones, and about 50% of them are kind of like not the best. None of it sucks. I still love all this stuff. I can't stress that enough. Anyway, yeah, side two is hard. That's a tough call. Oh man, I don't know. I think I've Just Seen a Face. And this was like kind of similar to how on the first side You've Got to Hide Your Love Away was John being Dylan. This is kind of like Paul being Simon and Garfunkel in a way. And it's fantastic. Yeah, so there you go. Help. So now we're into the big boys. Rubber Soul. This was one of the Parlophone pressings that my mom bought me at Harrods in London. Yeah, this is one of my favorite records for sure. It's not my absolute favorite Beatles record, but it's up there. This is where they really started getting good, right? First side, we got Drive My Car, Norwegian Wood, You Won't See Me, Nowhere Man, Think for Yourself, The Word, and Michelle. Again, a really, really tough decision. I love all of these songs. I love every single one of them so much. My first, I would always want to lean towards Norwegian Wood, but I think and Nowhere Man, of course, is just jaw-droppingly beautiful song. I'm going to go with You Won't See Me. And there's something about the melody in this that it almost evokes tears when I sing it to myself. It's that combined with the backing vocals on this, it's just such a quintessential Beatles song. It's just, I've actually recorded an acoustic cover of this because I was so fascinated with the melodies and the backing vocals on this track. All right, so side two, What Goes On? Again, not the strongest track. Girl, beautiful. I'm Looking Through You, beautiful. In My Life, legendary, gorgeous song, right? Wait, then it starts getting a little. Wait is good. If I Needed Someone, of course, it's great. And then you got Run for Your Life, which was that was a leftover track from a previous record. And I love all these songs again. Some of these on side two are not their strongest material. Side two, oh man, damn it. I'm going to have to go Within My Life, and there's a personal reason for that. That probably is not a very surprising choice, honestly. I know it's a very popular song. When I went to my friend Nathan's wedding back, I want to say this was 2004, possibly. He specifically asked me to sing that song at his wedding. So it was part of the wedding ceremony down in Louisiana, down in the Delta. I forget the name of the town, was where his wife grew up. So yeah, I learned how to play and sing in my life, and I played it on a Martin backpacker and sang it while they were I can't forget exactly what was going on in the ceremony when I sang it. I was so nervous, but that obviously that means a lot to me. And it was such I know the song meant a lot to him. That's why he asked me to sing it, but he specifically asked, having me sing it. And Nathan and I had been friends since we were in high school, and we're still friends today. So yeah, Rubber Soul, You Won't See Me, and In My Life. So now we're on to what is often cited as the number one Beatles album. This has been like number one album on a lot of lists, not just Beatles records, but like top records of all time. And it really is close to being their masterpiece. Some people do call it their masterpiece. I think they were almost there. We'll get to that in a second. I'm really going to start having a hard time with some of these choices. Side one, of course, we've got Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, I'm Only Sleeping, Love You Too, Here, There, and Everywhere, Yellow Submarine, and She Said, She Said. How in the hell does anyone pick a favorite out of those songs? This is a Parlophone pressing that my mom bought for me at Harrods back in 1985 or so. And I was particularly thrilled to get this because Revolver was already one of my favorite records. But at that time, you couldn't get the UK pressing of this record in the States, at least not cheap, right? I had the US version of this record, which was the last butchered Beatles record that they put out. So it didn't have three of the best songs. It didn't have I'm Only Sleeping. It didn't have Dr. Robert. And it didn't have And Your Bird Can Sing. Can you? and now thinking about that, it's like, why? Screw you guys. Put the songs back on the record. And I only just discovered this today. I thought I still had my American pressing of this. I don't. I think I gave it away to a friend. I might have given it to my friend Nathan ages ago. And I just forgot about it because I just figured, well, I don't need it because I'm never going to listen to it again. So I just gave it away. I'm kind of regretting that now. Okay, so side one. Man, I don't know how to pick. I'm going to have to go today, just today. I'm going to go with Love You Too. Because this was where George, almost said John, this is where George really started to blossom. And I know that his Indian influences weren't particularly popular, where George Martin was not very fond of this stuff at first. But I just love that. I love that song. Yeah. Love You Too. Okay. That's what I'm going with. I mean, I love She Said, She Said. I love all these songs so much, but that's the one I'm going to choose. Again, this is like a form of torture. It's just like a form of gentle torture in a way. Side two, Good Day Sunshine, And Your Bird Can Sing. For No One, Dr. Robert, I Want to Tell You, Got to Get You Into My Life, and Tomorrow Never Knows. This one is hands down. It's always going to be the same choice for me. It's Tomorrow Never Knows. I performed that song live in my first band when I was 18. I had a band called Elemental Penguin with my friend Dwight. He was playing keyboards, and my friend Sean on guitar, my friend Arunan on drums, my friend Jason on bass. And we had three backup singers, Camille, Becky, although she now goes by Verena, and Lisa. And I had at the top of my list, I desperately wanted to do Tomorrow Never Knows because I'd always loved that song so much because it is so weird. And you're going to learn this about me. And the more you watch these videos, I love weird shit. I love not just weird shit, but weird shit that is catchy. And the Beatles were one of the first bands to really kind of embrace that and make weird shit popular and make it sound great, you know? Tomorrow Never Knows. I don't even know how to articulate that. I could probably do a whole video about that one song. I've always loved it, but yeah, getting to sing it live, and it was an ambitious choice to play that live, but it had a lot to do with what Dwight did on the keyboards. He had two keyboards with him, and we played it live as part of a dance at school. So that was a big moment for me. So Tomorrow Never Knows is always going to be at the top of my list because I have a personal connection with it. But that was the only time we ever performed it live. Only time I've ever performed it live was in high school when I was 18 years old. So yeah, Revolver, Love You Too, and Tomorrow Never Knows. Come on. So now we're getting into what probably won't be any surprise to you, is my favorite album of all time because it was the first Beatles record I loved, Sgt. Pepper. And I was talking about masterpieces earlier. I still think that this is their masterpiece because, I mean, come on. A lot of people don't think that because it's this album's been shoved in their face so much throughout time, and I understand that. I have a much more personal connection with this because I love this album for what it was, not because it was popular, but because my parents owned it and it was something that was there. It was just available. And of course, I spent so many hours getting lost as a child, getting lost in this artwork and just staring and just wondering what all this stuff meant. And it was like looking into like a window into an alternate universe or some kind of fantasy reality, right? This, by the way, I have several copies of this. This is my parents' copy of Sgt. Pepper, and I didn't know this is a mono pressing. Doesn't say mono here, and I didn't even understand what the difference between mono and stereo was until I think I was 15, and a friend of mine asked to borrow. Actually, she asked me to make a tape of this for her because she was curious about the record. She wanted to listen to it more. So I said, okay. And I was gonna just make a tape off of this one, but this copy of Pepper, unsurprisingly, is just scratched to hell. Obviously, because it was my parents bought this in 1968, I think the year before I was born, and it's just been sadly abused. It's scratched. It's very, very in not very good condition. So I decided to go out and buy a new copy of it. And by this point, this was 1985. You could not buy mono pressings of this record in the shops anymore at that point. But I didn't know that until I went out and bought my own new copy of it. And I was listening to it. And as any well-versed Beatles freaks will know, there's a massive difference between the mono and stereo mixes of this record, especially during things like the animal noises at the end of Good Morning, Good Morning, and some of the sounds you hear in the beginning of the Sgt. Pepper's Reprise in particular. And I remember hearing that for the first time when I was making a tape of this for my friend, going, what happened? My mind was just exploding. I was like, did they change the record? I didn't know the whole history yet at this point. So that's when I learned about the difference between mono and stereo mixes, right? Yeah, this is another one that's going to be hard to pick a favorite. So side one, of course, we've got Sgt. Pepper, the title track. We've got Little Help from My Friends. We've got Lucy in the Sky. We've got Getting Better. We've got Fixing a Hole. We've got She's Leaving Home and Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite. This is, again, an album I'm going to have a really hard time choosing favorites. I think today I'm going to pick She's Leaving Home. Again, this was a song that I used to cover acoustically with Davey. It was one that I asked to cover, and it was an ambitious thing to do because we were just playing it on 2 acoustic guitars. I absolutely love that song, and it's a testament to the song that, on the record, obviously it's just with a string backing, a string quartet. But the song is so good, you don't need the string quartet to make it work. It's absolutely just amazing song melodically and emotionally, and it's one of the best things that Paul ever wrote. That was a little easier than I thought. I just remembered I used to play that one with Davey. So yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer. Okay, side 2, Within You Without You. Always love that song. When I'm 64, Lovely Rita, love it. Good Morning, love it. Sgt. Pepper's Reprise, and of course, A Day in the Life. Oh, God damn it. God damn it. I always want to steer towards A Day in the Life. I always do because it is such an apocalyptically beautiful song. It is like the quintessential album closer, right? This is really where they brought music to another. They brought us into another reality with this song. It's really hard to choose favorites here. I love Lovely Rita. God damn it, I love Within Without You. I'm gonna have to go with A Day in the Life. I know it feels like a cliche choice because I do love Within You Without You so much. I love Lovely Rita. Lovely Rita is kind of like the underdog on the record. I've heard people dog this one as like a throwaway song. Lovely Rita is fucking brilliant. Everything from just the goofy melody, the way that the acoustic guitar sounds, that really crunchy acoustic guitar sound they got on this, so that goes along with the snare. I don't even know how they did that. incredible sound. I've only ever heard that sound on this record, on that song. I haven't really heard it anywhere else. So it is a toss-up for me between Lovely Rita, I think, and A Day in the Life today, right now. But you know what? I think because I feel sorry for Lovely Rita, I'm going to go with Lovely Rita. I don't know. Why not? Okay, so Sergeant Pepper. Sergeant Pepper. What did I pick for side one? Oh, yeah, She's Leaving Home and Lovely Rita. Finally, 2 Paul choices. Who knew? And that kind of makes sense because this was Paul's baby. This record was his idea. So onwards. Of course, Magical Mystery Tour. Not really a record. It's more of an EP with a bunch of singles on the second side, but still, I'm going to treat it as if it's the same as all these other ones as far as choosing favorites. So side one, Magical Mystery Tour, Fool on the Hill, Flying, Blue Jay Way, Your Mother Should Know, I Am the Walrus. You might think I'm going to go with I Am the Walrus, and I am, but not on this record. And you're probably wondering, well, if you're not choosing it now, when are you going to choose it? Well, you'll find out. Some of these I'm picking favorites from are not actual albums, but they were to me when I was a kid. So I'll explain. Hang around, you'll see. You'll see. Yeah, side one, I'm going to go with Your Mother Should Know. Not the greatest song Paul ever wrote, but the words are very silly, but there's something about the melody in the song that just gets me every time. It's just something so, and I guess that's what he was going for. It's so evocative of nostalgia and like just it's like a pervasive sentimentality that's just present in the more in the melody than in the words. I mean, I know he's going there in the words, but it's really more about the melody for me in the song. It's also an amazing composition, I think, because it's in a minor key, but it's uplifting, and it always fascinates me when you have a minor key that is uplifting. It's just brilliant. So side two, we've got Hello Goodbye. Not my favorite song of theirs. I don't dislike it, but not my favorite. Strawberry Fields. Come on. Yeah, that's like A Day in the Life. It's really hard to not choose that as a favorite. Penny Lane, again, beautiful song. Not as fond of that as I am Strawberry Fields. Baby You're a Rich Man. Yes. And All You Need Is Love. This one's kind of easy because sometimes I steer for the underdogs in these choices. I really love Baby You're a Rich Man because I think that's one of their underrated songs. And it is a strange one. It's a strange song. And they really don't have another song that sounds like that too. I love the way the groove kind of haltingly establishes itself in the beginning, and the piano and that weird, I forget what it's called, the clavinet or something, that weird instrument that John's playing that sounds kind of vaguely Indian in flavor. Yeah, Baby You're a Rich Man. Magical Mystery Tour, You Mother Should Know, and Baby You're a Rich Man. All right. We're now on to another non-album album. And I'm putting this here. You may be asking, didn't this come out after the White Album? The answer is yes, but most of these songs were recorded before the White Album. A lot of these songs came out of the Pepper sessions, most of them. One of them, Hey Bulldog, was recorded a little bit closer to the White Album. But I consider this is really more of like an offshoot of Pepper, really, because most of the songs were recorded at that time. Not all of them. So we've got of course, Yellow Submarine came from, some of these obviously came from previous records. Side one, you got Yellow Submarine, Only Northern Song, All Together Now. Hey Bulldog. Yeah. Damn good song. It's All Too Much and All You Need Is Love. This really would only be a toss-up for me between Hey Bulldog and It's All Too Much, but I'm always going to lean towards It's All Too Much because that is very much an underrated song of theirs. I don't think it gets enough love, that song, especially since there is there's 2 different versions of it, right? There's this album version and there's a version that's in the movie. It has a verse. The movie has a verse that's not on the record, but there is a bootlegged version, which I don't have handy. I do have it on bootleg. The full, I think it's like over 8 minutes long, which has all the verses and this long, crazy freak out jam at the end, which has still yet to be officially released. I don't understand why. I'm hoping it's because they're saving it for yet another re-release of Yellow Submarine. They have to put it out. It's so good. It's one of the best unreleased tracks that's still unreleased. But yeah, It's All Too Much. I love this song, and it's one I've never covered, but I really do want to cover it. I don't think I could do it solo acoustic, but I'd need a band to do it, and one of these days I'm going to do it. Love that song. And I'm sorry, George Martin, but I'm not going to pick, I'm going to break my own rule. I'm not picking a favorite from here. Why? Because I never listened to this side. Do you? Does anybody flip over to side two and listen to side two? I used to. I remember when I was a kid, I used to listen because I do like the soundtrack music, particularly the theme song. I guess if I was to pick a favorite one, it might be Pepperland, but it might be Sea of Monsters. But the thing I don't like about this, it's not the same performance that's in the movie. He recorded a different version of these songs, of these compositions for the record, and I don't understand why. So that's another reason why I'm not even going to bother picking a favorite from here, because it's not even the versions of the music that I like. Damn it, George. Sorry. I love you, George, but yeah, that's not happening. Now we're on to the Big Mama. Big Mama. This is the White Album. Again, one of the Parlophone pressings that my mom bought for me at Harrods. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that? And the idea that put the halved apple on side too is, it's so cool. Anyway. Oh boy. Okay, so yeah, side one, we've got Back in the USSR, we've got Dear Prudence, we've got Glass Onion, Obly de Obada, Wild Honey Pie, Continuing Story of Bungalow Bill, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Happiness is a Warm Gun. Man, that is a monster of a side one, isn't it? I am going to go with Dear Prudence. That was an easy choice. Yeah, it was. That's a song I have played that live. It's been a while. I learned how to do the finger picking for that song, and it wasn't easy. And I just think it's an absolutely gorgeous song. It's one of the most remarkable songs they did, one of the most remarkable compositions that John ever produced. It has a lot to do with that picking pattern. It's just remarkable. Of course, I love Glass Onion. But there are some songs on this record I'm not particularly fond of, especially on this side one, Obly de Obada. Not my favorite song. Bungalow Bill is not my favorite either. I do love Happiness is a Warm Gun. And I do love While My Guitar Gently Weeps. So again, that's kind of one of the overplayed. I hate to say it, While My Guitar Gently Weeps is almost like the Hotel California of this record. It's been played to death. Side two, Martha, My Dear, I'm So Tired, Blackbird, Piggies, Rocky Raccoon, Don't Pass Me By, Why Don't We Do It on the Road, I Will, and Julia. Man, they really did cram a lot of songs on this record, even just one side. That's a tough one. The second side is much better, I think, than side one. I love all these. I love all these songs. Even Don't Pass Me By. Oh man, I think I'm So Tired. It's one of the greatest John songs, and it's also just, I don't know, it's so iconic. Yeah, I'm So Tired. Side three on the second disc, we've got Birthday, Your Blues, Mother Nature's Son. Everybody's got something to hide except me and my monkey. Sexy Sadie, whew, Helter Skelter, and Long, Long, Long. This is where it starts getting tough for me. Because Mother Nature's Son was my dad's favorite Beatles song. And I actually have a song called Corner Mountain that I've written for him, which is kind of deliberately inspired by the song. So it's kind of hard for me not to pick Mother Nature's Son. It's kind of a toss-up, I think, for me between that and Sexy Sadie, because Sexy Sadie is just so delightfully weird and vicious. But I think for my dad, I'm going to have to pick Mother Nature's Son. I didn't see that one coming, but yeah, I didn't realize that till I got here. And finally, the final side, whew, man, Revolution 1, Honey Pie, Savoy Truffle, Cry Baby Cry, that's a good one, Revolution 9, and Good Night. Well, it's not Good Night, and it's not Revolution number 9. I do love the second version of Revolution 1. I do love that. I think I even love this version of Revolution more than the single version. Again, this is a version of Revolution that Davey and I used to perform live acoustically. And I love Savoy Truffle. Honey Pie, not my favorite Paul song. That's a great one, though. Cry Baby Cry. I'm going to have to go with that one because that is such a surreal song of John's. And one of the best things about it actually is the way it leads into Revolution 9. Yeah, Cry Baby Cry. Whew, man, this is hard work. I'm getting tired. Yeah, so let's just to recap. Side one, we have Dear Prudence. Side two, we've got I'm So Tired. Side three, Mother Nature's Son. Side four, Cry Baby Cry. And I'm sorry I didn't pick any George songs for this one. Sorry, George. Awfully sorry. Now we're on to Hey Jude. Not an actual record, but this is one that I owned. I bought this when I was 13. And I knew it wasn't a real record then because it's very clearly when you move from side one to side two, it's just a very, very weird record. But I've always loved this collection of songs, even though it doesn't make any sense. It's just a collection of singles. But this is easy for me. Side one is Can't Buy Me Love, Should Have Known Better, Paperback Writer, Rain, Lady Madonna, and Revolution, the single version of Revolution. I have to go with Rain. I've always loved Rain. Rain is, I think, almost always one of the first songs I mention when I talk about my favorite Beatles songs. It's just such an amazing song. Excuse me. Oh, told you this is hard work. Rain is that's a hands down. That's a no brainer for me. Although, and I just a side note too. When I first bought this record, a lot of these songs I had, I was only 13 years old. I hadn't heard all of them. I heard most of them on the radio, maybe once or twice. When Revolution first came on, the distorted guitar in the beginning, I thought there was something wrong with my stereo. I thought my speaker had blown. I was just blew my mind when I first heard it. Side two, this is gonna be harder. Hey Jude, no, it's not. What am I talking about? Hey Jude, Old Brown Shoe, Don't Let Me Down, and Ballad of John and Yoko. It's Old Brown Shoe. Again, it's. I tend to go for the underdogs, and that is one of the most underrated songs that George ever wrote. I think it's amazing. And I'm still waiting for a good remix of this. They just gave us a remix of that on the Red and Blue collection. And it's almost there. Giles didn't quite nail it. He kind of messed up the guitar in that mix. And the vocal, it's not quite loud enough still. This one of the things that has bugged me about. I still really love the original mix a lot, but one of the things that really bugs me about it is that George's vocal is kind of buried. Apparently, I think I remember hearing that that's what he wanted. But come on. We need a better mix of this. I hope we get it someday. We don't have it yet. But anyway, yeah. So, Hey Jude, it's going to be Rain and Old Brown Shoe. Of course, this was later replaced with Past Masters, which from that, I would pick the same two favorites, honestly. So, we're now into the waning years, the last few. Let It Be, of course, was the last record they put out, but it was not the last one they recorded, which is why I've got it here. This is why I'm doing this one now. They recorded this before Abbey Road. So this is going to be kind of easy for me because I've covered a lot of these songs. So side one, Two of Us, I Dig a Pony, Across the Universe, I Mean Mine, Dig It, Let It Be, and Maggie May. This one's easy for me. I could choose Two of Us because Davey and I used to do Two of Us, and I love that song. But I've always been partial to I Dig a Pony. Again, because it's so weird. And I think it's one of the more underrated Beatles songs. What's interesting about I Dig a Pony is if you're familiar, if you've seen the movie Let It Be, you know that the song used to start and end differently. There was the All I Want Is when Phil Spector was finishing this record for them, he edited those parts out of the song and he made it a better song. What's interesting to me is when they came around to doing Let It Be Naked, like 20 years ago, whenever that was, I thought for sure they would go back to the un-Phil Spector version of the song, but they didn't. They kept those edits in. I thought that was very interesting. From all the years we've heard about, oh goddamn, Phil Spector messed up Let It Be, and no, he didn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't have any sympathy for Phil Spector. Was a crap human being, right? But he did make Dig a Pony a better song on this record, and apparently Paul McCartney agreed with the edits he made, and I do find that very, very interesting. Dig a Pony on side one. Side two, we've got I Got a Feeling. I love that song too. One After 909, Long and Winding Road, For You Blue, and Get Back. This one's easy. For You Blue. Another one I used to do with Davey, and I've always loved that song. I think it's one of the greatest George songs. It's not a particularly amazing song, but it's one of his best. How do I explain it? It's just such a great song. The guitar in it is fantastic. This is one where Phil Spector did an interesting thing with the mix too, because he took out, there's that guitar, the acoustic guitar that you're doing the intro, that whole intro bit, and then it disappears from Phil Spector's version. It disappears from the mix right after that, and John's slide guitar and Paul's tack piano thing. They put paper over the strings in the piano they're playing. The slide guitar and the piano kind of take over the groove, and I do really like that sparse mix. So on Let It Be Naked, they put George's guitar back into the mix, and it's still good. But when I listen to those two different versions, I kind of understand why Phil made that choice, because there's more groove. There's a tighter groove in this mix than there is in the Let It Be Naked version. But I love both versions of this song. Obviously, either version is great. I tend to lean towards this one, and when I play it acoustically, I think I kind of mimic the groove, ironically, of what that was present when the acoustic guitar was not in the mix. So anyway, yeah, Let It Be, one of my favorite records. I bought this when I was 13 as well, and I listened to this backwards and forwards so many times. But yeah, it's going to be I Dig a Pony and For You Blue. All right. You might think this is the last one in my list. It's not. I've got one more after this, and I bet you can't guess what it is. And it's not in release order. Well, I guess it kind of is. It kind of is in release order. Although I'm not doing this in release order, obviously, or else I would have done this before Let It Be. Anyway, so Abbey Road. This is often cited as people's favorite Beatles record. It's not my favorite. And for one reason, there's a couple songs in here that I tend to skip past for one thing, but also it is a brilliant record, but I don't like it as much as the other stuff because it is there's something about the production. It's beautiful production. It's amazing. This record kind of defined what would become the sound of the 70s in a way, that the pop sound of the 70s, really. You can't really define, there wasn't one sound of the 70s, right? There's so much that happened in that decade, but I think you know what I mean, right? Paul kind of carried that over with Wings. There's a little bit, the glimmers of that were starting to happen with this record. Side one, we got Come Together, Something, Maxwell Silverhammer, Oh Darling, Octopus's Garden, and I Want You, She's So Heavy. When I say about skipping, there's two songs on side one that I tend to skip. I'm almost ashamed to say Maxwell Silverhammer and Octopus's Garden. Not terribly fond of either of those songs. I like Octopus's Garden more than Maxwell Silverhammer, but not my favorite songs, man. It's almost kind of the production. And this is where they were starting to experiment with the Moog synthesizer. And it puts this glossy sheen on a lot of these songs that I'm not particularly fond of. And then I say that only in comparison to their other stuff, which I just love. Their earlier records, especially things like Pepper and White Album, have this kind of grittiness to it. And a lot of that, I think, had to do with the generation loss as they were bumping things down because they were trying to cram as much as they could onto those records. This one, they didn't have that problem because they were, for the first time, well, no, they did use 8-track on the White Album too, interestingly. But this one, they had more tracks available, and they really were learning how to take advantage of that. It's amazing. And I think that's partly why a lot of people do prefer this record. I don't like the glossiness. I don't like it as much. I still love this record. It's the Beatles. I still love it, but it's not my favorite record. So side one, it's got to be I Want You, She's So Heavy, because it is one of the grittier sounding songs on this record for sure. It's a great way to end side one. I almost wish it was the last song on the record, because it has kind of this almost day in the life kind of apocalyptic feeling to it, the way it builds up and ends. It's pretty amazing. This was also, I Want You was when I was first learning guitar when I was a teenager. One of the first I arpeggiated. It was this song that I learned how to play arpeggios, and they were the Beatles were really into arpeggios on this record. It is one of the cool things about this record was there were the experimentation with arpeggios on a lot of these songs. Side two, Here Comes the Sun, Because, You Never Give Me Your Money, Sun King, Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and of course the end. And of course we have the unlisted song that everybody knows ends this record, which is Her Majesty. This was a little bit of a tougher choice. I love all of these songs. I mean, this is really, I skip two of the songs on side one typically. I don't skip anything on side two when I'm listening to it. It's kind of hard to skip, especially when you get into the medley, right? This is another tough choice. I did used to cover Here Comes the Fun. Here Comes the Fun. I used to cover Here Comes the Sun acoustically. That is not an easy song to play, but I love it. But that's not the one I'm picking. I'm going to pick You Never Give Me Your Money, because there's something about that song. It's one of Paul's best songs. And it's, when he gets to that point where, oh, that magic feeling, nowhere to go. You Never Give Me Your Money. It makes me cry listening to that song. It makes me cry. And I don't know if there's any other songs in this record that make me cry like that. Maybe sometimes Golden Slumbers or Carry That Weight, but yeah, Paul really was bringing it on this record for sure. And for good reason. I mean, they all knew this was their last record, or at least, well, Ringo says he didn't. Ringo says he didn't know it was their last record, but I think Paul knew. I think Paul knew it was the last one. I don't know. Maybe they didn't. There's different stories, but it certainly seems like they knew that this was the last one, right? Anyway, yeah, You Never Give Me Your Money. Okay, so Abbey Road. Side 1, I Want You, She's So Heavy. Side 2, You Never Give Me Your Money. So you may be wondering what the next one is. This is a record that you can't get anymore. This came out in the 80s when I was in high school. The Beatles Rarities. Yeah. Told you didn't see this one coming. So this was a collection of rarities at the time. It's not a particularly enticing, as far as the amount of unreleased stuff that I now know was available, that was still sitting in the vaults at this time. When did this come out? I think it was 85, 1980. Okay. Yeah. So there were two different versions of rarities that came out. The one that came out in the UK first had a much more boring cover than this. Then eventually it came out on Capitol in the US in 1980. I didn't get this until, I want to say I didn't buy this until like 1984 or something like that. But the selection of songs on here I think is better. I don't think the UK version had I Am the Walrus on it. And I think you already know that's where I'm going with this one. So I'm not going to go into detail about what all these different versions are. Some of them are like different versions, like different mono mixes and things that weren't available anywhere else at the time. But starts off with Love Me Do. We got Misery, There's a Place, Sie liebt dich, the German version of She Loves You. That was the first time I'd heard that was on this. It's now on the Past Masters version, right? On the Past Masters disc. I've got And I Love Her. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not going to tell you. That might be maybe a whole nother video I can talk about the rarities collection. Help, I'm Only Sleeping, which by the time at this point, I think I bought this before my mom bought me the UK pressing of Revolver. So this was the first time I heard I'm Only Sleeping. And it's a different mix. I think it's like a different mono mix or something. And then the piece de resistance, I'm the Walrus. This still, for me, is the definitive version of I'm the Walrus. And it's like this hybrid version that they put together just for this release. And I don't know if it's available anywhere online now. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. I haven't looked for it, but this is, it has a longer intro. The do goes on like for a couple extra beats. And then the other difference is that there's an extra bar that happens after, I think it's right after the first chorus. There's an extra bar. And whenever I play the song, I have an acoustic cover of this that I recorded one of the first recordings I did on my Tascam when I bought my first 4-track Tascam back in 1993 or something, 92. One of the first things I did very eagerly was track my own acoustic cover version of I'm the Walrus, which was it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I put that extra bar. I was covering this version of the song because I think it's a better song with that extra bar. They edited it out. I don't know why. If you listen to the version that's on, I believe it's on Anthology, which is the just the backing track version with John's guide vocal on it, that extra measure is in there. They just took it out because you hear John start to sing. He goes, "Yellow ma hoo." It's right. Yeah, it's right before Yellow Matter Custard. You hear him go, "Yellow ma hoo," because he came in early, and that must be because I guess that was their cue to say, well, maybe we should just take that bar out because he wanted to start singing there. And on the release version, he does because they took that measure out. But I like it better with it. That's a weird thing about this record, but a lot of other people would not have that preference. But it's just because I happened to get this record when I did. I already owned Magical Mystery Tour, but I think that's why this version of On the Walrus was so delightful for me at the time, because it was different than the released version. So side 2, you've got Penny Lane, which I think has that horn at the end. I can't remember what's different about this. I think it has that extra horn flourish at the end, which is now on Anthology. Helter Skelter, I think, is a mono mix of this. Don't Pass Me By. Can't remember which. Again, not going to go into detail. The Inner Light. This is the first time I'd heard The Inner Light. A beautiful song. I was enamored. I was really, really fascinated with this song when I bought this. We've got the the alternate version of Across the Universe that has the bird, the sound effects in it and stuff. I do much prefer this version than the version that's on Let It Be. Although I love the Let It Be version too, but this version's a really nice one. And then of course you've got You Know My Name, Look Up the Number, and then really strange choice. They put the Sgt. Pepper Inner Groove on this one, not the looped version that's on the stereo CD that came out in '87. Just the like it's like 2 seconds long or something. That's it. It doesn't loop. It just goes. That's it, and it's over. That's all they put that here because you couldn't hear that anywhere else at the time. This is before the CDs came out. So I was really fascinated with that little bit too. But again, it's like only like 2 seconds long, whatever it is. But this is easy for me. You Know My Name, Look Up the Number was such a weird thing. When the first time I heard this, I was so delighted. I couldn't get enough of it. And it's still one of my favorite songs of theirs because it's so bizarre. And I love how it took them several years to finish it. I think they started recording it during was it during the Revolver sessions? I can't remember. I think they started recording it in '66 and they didn't finish it until like '69 or something like that. Brian Jones famously plays saxophone on this. It's it's an amazingly weird track. It's more, You Know My Name, Look Up the Number is more like the Christmas records that they were putting out. And if you've never heard their Christmas records, the flexis that they put out, they're pretty easy to find on YouTube if you've never heard them. They really are, just a side note, they're kind of like the first podcast. They're like the Beatles put out an annual podcast. They're great fun. But anyway, yeah. So Beatles Rarities. This is going to wrap up the video. Choices again. The Rarities version of I'm the Walrus and You Know My Name, Look Up the Number, which of course everybody knows if you're a Beatles collector, Beatles fan, you know that that's on Past Masters now, of course. So that was hard work, y'all. I think I need a beer and a nap. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you've watched this far, good on you. You've got an incredible attention span, very healthy attention span, but maybe some slight mental problems. No, I'm just joking. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sticking it out with me. My name is Chad Smalley. I am the bass player in a band called Blackguards. We have a website, blackguards.com. We also have a podcast called Slappercast. It comes out every Tuesday. I also have another YouTube channel called Prodigious Saps, which we talk about all kinds of nerdy crap like Superman and Star Wars and Planet of the Apes, all kind of crazy stuff. Lately, it's been a lot about Superman because 2025, this is the year that we're getting the new Superman movie. So join us there. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.